he's the best I ever played. And I ever saw. Of course, on hard. On clay, a little bit different, but on hard, he was playing for me.
Alcaraz has said chess helps him stay focused and make faster decisions during matches.
Alcaraz badly wanted to win, wanted to come out and penetrate the court enough, and he has that kind of confidence in his game.
On February 1st, 2026, Carlos Alcaraz walked off Rod Laver Arena as the youngest man in history to complete the career Grand Slam, defeating Djokovic, dismantling an 88-year-old record at just 22 years old. Rafael Nadal sat in the stands watching his own age record get erased in real time. The man who once owned Melbourne had become a spectator. Right at the trophy ceremony, Djokovic stepped to the microphone and called what Alcaraz is doing historic, legendary.
I mean, he's on a legendary career already.
I think Alcaraz definitely got room for improvement.
It feels like we'd seen the end of that kind of Carlos Alcaraz.
They're going to look at Carlos and what he does and how he loves to be aggressive and move forward because we lost a lot of that.
I mean, Alcaraz, I'm sorry, but this guy's amazing.
You're talking about a phenom like a Carlos Alcaraz.
Carlos Alcaraz!
Federer had flown into Melbourne as a guest weeks earlier, telling reporters that completing the career Grand Slam this young would be crazy. Visibly delighted when it actually happened.
Attractive for the fans. With Roger, I think the strategy was more clear. You know, I was trying to do one thing, he was trying to do the other thing. Honestly, 2017 for a while was the best level of his career.
Nadal went on CNN and stated openly that Alcaraz is heading for one of the best careers of all time. Publicly, every single one of them has been generous, and that's exactly what makes this so interesting. Because the full picture of what Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic really say about Alcaraz, beyond the polished ceremony, speeches through raw post-defeat confessions, and across genuinely unguarded moments, reveals something far more layered than the official narrative would have you believe.
Alcaraz and Juan Carlos Ferrero split up, and
we got two major splits within the sport. Tennis, man. There's no other sport like it.
Yeah. Alcaraz is the man to make history here, to do all 4 major trophies at age 22.
It's the youngest career Grand Slam winner of all time.
If this is your first time here and you want analysis that cuts past the surface, subscribe now. You're in the right place. Here's everything they've really been saying. Wind the clock back to September 2022. Alcaraz was 19, had just won his first US Open, and Roger Federer was preparing to retire at the Laver Cup in London. Two careers at completely opposite ends of their arc. One finishing, one barely starting. Despite never facing Alcaraz in an official match, something both men have since admitted regretting, Federer had been watching closely. His first major public comments about the teenager went beyond standard retirement-era generosity. I watched him closely, what he did at the US Open and throughout the year. It's been fantastic. I always said there will always be new superstars in the game, and he's one of them. The game is bright. That was 2022. What Federer started saying about Alcaraz in the years that followed moved into considerably more personal territory.
A player that is going to be one of the best of the history. That's my feeling.
Of all the players I've ever watched, at this age, I've never seen a player this good.
By January 2026, sitting in Melbourne as an honored guest, Federer drew a clear distinction between Alcaraz and Sinner that nobody had quite articulated before. Watching Sinner stirred no particular sense of recognition in him. Watching Alcaraz was a different experience entirely. When I watch Carlos compete, I perceive more similarities with me, and I feel more identified. The way he drops shots, comes to the net, how he is able to alternate defenses and attacks. Both of us like to play our way. I feel involved with his mindset.
You yourself, in trying to complete all 4 majors, had Roland Garros as the difficult one, and the longer that you have to wait to do that, more pressure builds. How do you see Carlos here at trying to do that at the AO?
Ask those questions, because you know how it is, he knows about it. It's like Rory going for the Masters, those things are tough, but at the end of the day, like I said, his momentum shifts towards the first round, and then it's point for point mentality. That's what it is. But it's true, at his young age, to be able to complete the calendar or career Grand Slam already now, would be crazy.
Federer spent 20 years being described as the most gifted player the sport had produced. For him to watch Alcaraz and recognize something of himself in the instincts and shot selection. That's a deliberate and specific thing to say. What most coverage misses entirely is the mentorship dimension. Before the 2025 US Open semifinal, Alcaraz revealed that Federer had privately given him a career framework that he was actively using.
It's been working great, there's no doubt about that, but you know who has a problem with it? The guy who served that it looks like, Novak.
Yeah, I hear that. I have the contract over there, but I haven't seen him yet, so...
Carlos Alcaraz, a win in just 50 minutes.
Well, it was really close on that match, I'd say. In the first round, in the first set, I just had few break points that I couldn't make it, one set ball that I didn't make it.
It's the biggest victory of his career for sure, in my eyes. To be able to complete the career Grand Slam at 22 is absolutely incredible.
One person once told me that you don't have to think about 35, 38 years old still playing at that age. He told me, you have to be focused on the next 5 years, from here to when I am 27. I think that's the best person that could tell me that, and I will try to follow his words. Federer has no professional stake in how Alcaraz's career unfolds, yet he's privately passing on the mental framework that sustained his own career across 2 decades. On coaching, he shut the door firmly. No, I'm definitely out. Maybe I could give him some advice on the periphery, but I'm too busy with my children and with my life at the minute. The door for advice stays open, the suitcase stays unpacked. The Nadal-Alcaraz dynamic is the most emotionally loaded of the 3. And the most publicly misread. The mainstream narrative has always been straightforward. Nadal is the idol, Alcaraz is the heir, Spain passes the torch. Except Alcaraz took a Netflix documentary and dismantled that narrative entirely.
Walked into the conversation with the best of all time. There's only so many people on earth that can walk around and say to any Grand Slam venue and be like, oh, I won here too. The youngest to have ever done it by a couple of years, edging out Rafa. And then after Rafa, it jumps too. It's not as if there's like Rafa and then there's like 3 people close like within a year. How lucky is tennis that after the big 3, big 4, you have this guy whose game you can't take your eyes off of.
And he becomes the first man in the Open era to win each slam.
I don't want to be called Rafa's successor. I want to be called Carlos Alcaraz Garcia. That came from episode 2 of Carlos Alcaraz, My Way. An episode titled, With Zero Subtlety, I'm Not Rafa. Rather than defending the comparison or expressing any hint of being slighted, Nadal validated Alcaraz's frustration from lived experience. When you're young and they're constantly comparing you to some professional that's been on the circuit for many years, there are times you get tired of hearing it. This leads to an excess of pressure, and in the end, I think it can distort your daily life and even confuse you. Nadal arrived on tour carrying the weight of Spanish tennis expectations before winning a single Grand Slam. He understands precisely what that external narrative does to a young player's development, and he chose to stand with Alcaraz on this one. The single most revealing thing Nadal has said about Alcaraz came during a CNN interview. Not a ceremony speech, but a proper sit-down conversation. The question was whether Alcaraz could handle the pressure being placed on him. I don't think for Carlos it's a big deal holding that pressure. He's a great player and has a great family behind him. I think he's doing great, and he's having an amazing career, and he's going to win much more if he stays out of injury. That's the most important thing. I wish and I really believe that he's going to have one of the best careers of all time. Rafael Nadal, 22 Grand Slams, 14 French Opens, looked at a 22-year-old and said, a career better than almost anything the sport has witnessed is coming. That's a considered opinion from someone who understands at a cellular level what sustaining greatness in this sport actually requires. On coaching after Alcaraz split from Federer in December 2025, Nadal left just enough ambiguity to keep the conversation alive. In this life, you can never say never. It's difficult to imagine myself now doing this kind of thing. It's not my moment at all.
Carlos's dad and Juan Carlos had a different vision. Some people think maybe they couldn't get a contract together, but Juan Carlos Ferrero also said, hey, I would love to continue. Alcaraz himself had a really nice post saying, look, basically, thank you for everything you You've been like a mentor to me and a coach since I was barely a teenager, and they've done all these amazing things together.
The emphasis on now from a man who has always chosen words with precision is worth noting. Everything discussed so far has come from men watching from the outside. Novak Djokovic has been across the net, in the same locker room, the same Grand Slam finals, and what he has really said about Alcaraz through that experience carries an entirely different weight.
Novak, I don't know if you've seen the videos of Carlos Alcaraz's serve, but he said he can see the similarities to your serve. And I was just wondering if you had any thoughts both on his new motion and how the motions worked for you as you progressed.
As soon as I saw it, I sent him a message and I said, you know, we have to speak about, you know, the copyrights. And then when I saw him here, I told him we have to speak about percentage of his winnings.
The 2024 Wimbledon final is where this story shifted. Alcaraz beat Djokovic 6-2, 6-2, 7-6. Djokovic had returned from knee surgery weeks earlier, but he refused to let that become the story. His verdict on Alcaraz was stripped of every possible excuse. He just was better than me in every aspect of the game. 7 words. No tactical breakdown, no injury reference, from a 24 times Grand Slam champion who had spent a career finding margins in defeat. That level of clean admission is almost without precedent.
I won here too.
He's learned from Djokovic, he's learned from Nadal.
You want to be the best, you have to beat the best.
Yes, I do have more doubts that I can win slams, particularly against these two guys. But at the same time, I know that while I'm still active and when I enter on the court, you know, I don't care who is across the net.
The 2025 US Open semifinal added a sharper edge. Djokovic lost to Alcaraz 6-4, 7-6, 6-2, his third defeat in 4 Grand Slam semifinals that year. The press conference produced what might be the most honest assessment any active champion has given about a rival overtaking him. I lost 3 out of 4 slams in semis against these guys, so they're just too good, playing on a really high level. It's never fun losing a tennis match, but at the same time, if I'm to lose to someone, I would lose to these two guys. I know that they are just better at the moment. You just have to hand it to them and say, well done.
To thank Novak, because he's pushing the ceiling higher and higher and putting the bar up higher and higher. At 38, I mean, Carlos Alcaraz is such an unbelievable athlete that I would assume that he could be playing for at least another 15 years. And if he is, he'll be at the top because he's so talented. His knowledge of the game and the knowledge of tactics already at his...
The holder of the all-time Grand Slam record said that unprompted. He then went further, addressing what the Alcaraz-Sinner era means for his own remaining ambitions. It will be very difficult for me in the future to overcome the hurdle of Sinner-Alcaraz in best of 5 at the Grand Slams. I'm not giving up on Grand Slams, but it's going to be a very difficult task. A difficult task, yet Djokovic showed up at Melbourne 2026, beat Sinner in a stunning semi-final, and made the final anyway. He led Alcaraz by a set before losing 2-6, 6-2, 6-3, 7-5. His perfect 10-0 record in Australian Open finals gone. At the trophy ceremony, having just been denied a 25th Grand Slam title, Djokovic said this: "Congratulations, Carlos, an amazing tournament. What you've been doing is, I think the best word to describe it is historic, legendary. In defeat. On the biggest stage, without hesitation." There was also a small locker room exchange before the final that captured their dynamic perfectly. Alcaraz had apologized to Djokovic for delaying his semi-final with a 5-hour match. Djokovic replied, "I told him I am an old man, I need to go earlier to sleep." Two men separated by 16 years heading toward a Grand Slam final, exchanging jokes in a corridor. The sport rarely produces moments like that. Step back from the individual quotes and a clear pattern emerges across all 3 men. Federer sees a stylistic air, a player who approaches the game with the same instinctive all-court mentality that defined his own career, and has quietly invested in making sure that player thinks about his future the right way. Nadal sees a compatriot with the talent and the support structure to sustain greatness over a long career. But more importantly, a young man who deserves the space to build his own identity rather than carry someone else's legacy on his back. Djokovic has been beaten by Alcaraz in back-to-back Wimbledon finals, a US Open semifinal, and an Australian Open final, and has responded with honesty every single time rather than retreating into excuses. That consistency across multiple high-stakes defeats is its own form of respect. Alcaraz himself has been clear about where this is all heading. I want to be the one with the most. I want to surpass Djokovic with 24, but 23 we're talking. It's no joke.
We're seeing a more explosive tennis player ever than Alcaraz, right? As athletes evolve, is it possible that someone in 15 years' time can be even more athletic than Alcaraz? Or is he at the very, very top? I don't see how it's possible. But you said that 15, 20 years ago as well.
Yeah, you said that with Rafa too, right?
I don't see how it's possible.
Exactly. But his just pure explosion, his fast twitch, I would put up with any athlete in the world, period. It's just ridiculous.
At 22, 7 Grand Slams in, with the genuine respect of the 3 greatest players in tennis history. He might not be joking at all. This story has a long way left to run. The French Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open are all still ahead in 2026, and Alcaraz's new coach has publicly stated the calendar Grand Slam as a target for this season, something Rod Laver last achieved in 1969. Every tournament from here adds a new quote, a new dynamic, and a new layer to a generational story that tennis hasn't seen before. If you want to stay ahead of that conversation, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Drop your prediction in the comments. How many Grand Slams does Alcaraz end his career with? That debate starts right now.